Debate continues on the assets declaration. You saw the headlines now, also talking about liabilities. Well, we'll explore some of those as much as time permits us. Mr. Adekule Ojo joins us now. He's a former second vice president of the Nigerian Bar Association. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, dear.
Well, we know they've said it several times, lawyers also, what the law provides for with respect to declaring your assets. But that part wherein they take the next step, which is publishing it to the entire public, Nigerian public, say, this is it, this is what I have with the CCB. Many just think that it's a matter depending on whoever wants to. Yes, we know the provisions of the law, but do you think it's something that they should take that step further?
Well, I think basically we are looking at transparency. We are looking at accountability. And if the whole essence of all of this is for whatever you have to be known while you are going into office and where you are there, we need to know what you have. You see, I keep saying this, and I will restate it here, that whoever becomes a public officer naturally has come into the public domain. Whatever you are is no longer, shouldn't be shrouded in secrecy. So to that extent, the law as it is today does not provide for a compulsory publication of whatever are your assets and your liabilities. But then can't we just go further for sake of probity, for sake of accountability? I will lean on the side of those that are asking that, look, let there be law that makes it incumbent on you while you are assuming office as especially for certain offices, because we really need to know. Some people comes in while they had nothing, and by the time they are leaving, they have become a man of great opulence, great influence in the society. So we need to really look at all of these things. And if we are crying that, look, the bane of our retardation in this country is the fact that corruption has eaten too deep into our fabrics, then what stops a public officer from saying, this is what I have, and make it public? Today, the law has not said so. Mm-hmm. But then there is nothing wrong in having a law to back such a position up.
Is that the real reason, or we're just looking, or we're looking for scapegoats?
No. You see, when you talk about corruption, if you look at the African Union Convention, if you look at a lot of other charters, there is no way you can go into office without declaring what you have, and someone will hold you accountable for what you did. The whole essence of it is, while you are going in, this is what you have.
No, because
we should be able to trace whatever.
The reason I say so is because here we are. Yeah. One of the reasons why this conversation is important is because the CCB has always been there. Yeah. The Code of Conduct Bureau, where public office holders must, as a matter of fact, declare their assets before they assume office. Yeah. So how come is it that these people were able to amass so much wealth and the CCB was still there? Because they ought to have declared to the CCB before, and then when they're leaving office, also declare to the CCB as well. So how come is it that the CCB wasn't able to do its job? And now they're not asking the public to do their jobs for them? No. That's what it was saying.
It's quite unfortunate that we have the law, and the law appears dead in most cases because nobody seems to be waking it up. And we have a great culprit in this wise, that is the CCB, the Code of Conduct Bureau, and the tribunal. If the law is not moved, the law cannot move itself. That is the reason. You see,
what are the specifications for the law to move?
I'm coming. You see, this is where the public becomes a very relevant part of this. Someone somewhere seems not to be doing what he's supposed to be doing. That's why you are here. The journalist, somebody comes out and says, look, you are supposed to do this based on the position of the law. I tell you one truth. When President Buhari came in, at a point, he felt, look, there was no need for me to make my asset declaration public. Then some other persons raised and said, look, why you were vying, why you were asking for our vote, you did say you are going to make it public. Yes, it is granted that the law has not placed it on you as a duty that you should make it public. But you owe us because it's a moral duty, because you made that vow that, look, when I come into office, and at a point he said, no, I couldn't really remember when I made that. And someone came around, that's the Femi Adesina, one of his media persons and say, look, Mr. President, you said so. And they say, oh, if I've said that, then have it. That is the power of the public. We really need to know all of this. If CCB is not doing it, we are intelligent people, we are supposed to be watchdogs for ourselves.
The narrative is quite interesting, though, because I don't remember where that conversation took place.
Well, that's one of the things that we read in the papers. I mean, that's the truth.
Okay.
That's the truth.
But the thing is, you know, we were talking about the role of the CCB and why it's become imperative that they, you know, that these people make their, beg your pardon, public office holders make their accounts public. You know, again, does it then mean, for instance, now there is this hue and cry over make your accounts public, make your accounts public. What are the chances that when these people are leaving, would even remember to say make your assets public again?
Well, the tendency is neither here nor there. That's
because
the
one
truth.
of the things that we remember about President Yar'Adua, God rest his soul, was, you know, when he entered office, one of the things he did was declare his assets.
His asset and liabilities.
Exactly, and that of his wife, and I think
the children that are underage.
But nobody asked them.
Why?
Perhaps it was because of the circumstance that they left.
It's not really.
Nobody said.
I'm not really sure it's about the circumstance. I mean, so to say.
Yes.
Why President
Yar'Adua.
No, I'm talking about President Goodluck now.
Yeah.
When he left office, if someone comes around and says, oh, President Goodluck, this is what you had while you were going into office, and this is what you have now. You understand? You see, number one thing is you need information. Information is power. We are all ignorant. We don't even know what the man has declared. And it's unfortunate that for you to have all of this, you need to go through some due process at the CCB office. You may not even get it at the end of the day. That's the reason why a good number of us are insisting that, look, for a man who is going to a public office, there is nothing to bar us from. That is why I keep talking about the docility of our legislative arm. Look into all of these things. If these are the problems, because basically, I tell you one truth. There is this eye-wired understanding of, I won't call it conspiracy, but nobody seems to be asking questions. So if they are not asking questions, who is feeling the brunt? When there is corruption, who bears the brunt?
No,
no, that is where the public becomes very important.
I want to ask you, sorry, excuse me now, how does the CCB work? Isn't it their job to just, you know, to ensure that they have what you declared before and, you know, what you have when you leave an office? And if there's disparity, call you and say, how come there is a huge disparity?
I think...
Is that a job of the CCB?
I think the CCB, the much that I know about them, they have acted more on petitions. You could recollect at a point, few of the governors were actually taken there because some people wrote to say, look, this is what they have done. Not necessarily that this, because if they sit down, there are so many culprits to be dealt with in this nation. I tell you the truth, because an average, you get to a particular position, you become, I mean, in the civil service or the public service, that you are supposed to make declarations. And a man who got into office with just his briefcase, by the time he's coming out, he's had estates.
5 suitcases.
5 suitcases. Let's call it. If it is 5, that can just be manageable. He's got buildings almost in every part of this country. And the essence of what we are doing is look at your salary, look at the emolument, look at the allowances that you got so far. Can you rationalize what you now have now, given what you had while you were going into it? These are the basis of.
So what you're saying is that
unfortunately, the CCB has been unduly docile over this, because naturally, without a man asking you questions, because while you are living, while you are getting to office, you should make declaration. When leaving, you should make another.
What should lawyers like yourself do sometimes when you have a docile agency like the CCB?
What I think, it's not about lawyers now, it's about all of us. We can ask for information. The Freedom of Information Act allows you and I to apply.
Some states are saying that FOI does not apply to them.
Because they have not domesticated it. So at that point, that's why I call it the Act. Act is the federal law. The laws are for the state. If it is not domesticated in your state, then definitely you are. But then there are several other laws that could be used. We are all bound by the African Union Convention, which says that access to information is a sine qua non to good governance. So you can just approach and ask for it. If peradventure your state doesn't have the FOI law, you can use the African Charter. You can use it. So there are several other things. So it's not really about lawyer. It's about every one of us. You have the right to ask questions. I do have the same right to ask questions.
You know, this declaration, how can it help us? You know, if you don't do it publicly, which we already know that by law you're not supposed to go public with this, even though the president at that time did, and we're talking about President Yar'Adua and his vice, then Goodluck Jonathan, they did it publicly. We get to see for the second time the president and his vice doing it publicly. How can this trickle down into states and even local governments and every other public officer declaring their assets so that people can activate the FOI to have access?
Well, what I know really is that there is a law governing this. The Constitution is quite specific on the public servants or public officers that are supposed to make it. I am not aware the local government chairman.
It
depends. You see, for the purposes of declaration of asset, there is the fifth schedule of the Constitution is quite specific on the officers. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I'm now saying that I'm not quite sure, but I'm aware that the governors, the ministers, some head of parastatals, ambassadors, the president, the vice president, the deputy governor, the commissioners, they ought to. And while leaving office, they should as well have the same thing.